The Nexon versus Ironmace saga has once again become front and center in the Dark and Darker community. Now, I've read and watched everything I can find on this. I'm going to try to cut through the crap, distill all of that information down into what I think are the most important things to know in less than 10 minutes for you guys. Okay, so our story begins at Nexon in July of 2020. At that time, roughly half of the project team for a game called P3 consisted of what we now know as Ironmace developers. Now, given the translations, I'm not quite sure if it's 20 members of that team were Ironmace or 10 members. The way these articles read is really janky. So July 2020, Project P3 starts. 1 year later, one of the developers on the team that all of these articles have referred to as Mr. A current member of Ironmace, was disciplined and dismissed from Nexon for sending a massive amount of game-related files off-site to a private server. In August of 2021, Nexon files a criminal complaint. Sometime between July and August, and maybe even going into September, there was a mass exodus where Mr. A and at least 9 other developers that are now part of Ironmace left. Roughly 2 months later, in October of 2021, Ironmace is officially formed. In January of 2022, the first raid happened. I don't mean the first Dark and Darker raid, I mean the first police raid of Ironmace headquarters occurred. And according to Ironmace, nothing was found. Fast forward to August 2022, now we're into the first private alpha playtest, where only a small group of streamers were invited. At that time, the case against Mr. A was turned over to the Suwon prosecutor's office. September, we have public playtest 1, October, public playtest 2, and then in December, public playtest 3. Now, we hit 2023, January goes smoothly, and then in February, most of the community finds out about all of this previous drama. Terrence makes a response in the official Discord and says that no stolen code or assets have been used. That's been the focus of the discussion up till this point. Whether or not, when Mr. A transferred files offsite to a private server, whether or not any of that code, assets, any of those files were ever incorporated into the current build or any build, that's been the big question. March 2023, the most recent event, the police raid, Ironmace HQ again. They look at phones, laptops, etc. We're not clear whether or not anything was fully confiscated, but I mean, you would think they at least copied files. And that's where we're at. Okay, so now that you're caught up, let's talk about what the true crux of the matter is. 2 search and seizures have been conducted, and according to Ironmace, nothing has been found. Nil, nada. And in a recent article where Ironmace responded to the most recent search and seizure and all of the allegations put forth by Nexon, Ironmace said that more raids could occur. At this point, it's pretty reasonable to assume that any future searches would yield the same results. Nothing. It's kind of like opening the fridge door, realizing you have nothing good to eat, walking away from the fridge for a few minutes, and then returning to the fridge and checking for food again, only to be disappointed. There's nothing there. So here's the thing. The crux of the matter at this point, I don't feel like has anything to do with stolen assets or files, code, because that's a binary situation. Either they did or they didn't. It seems like they didn't. I argued in a previous video they would be immeasurably stupid to do something like that. And I'd like to believe they're morally above doing that as well. So the point is, it's not an area worth focusing on. It's pretty cut and dry. If they use stolen assets or code, they're screwed. If they didn't, fantastic. They've done the most fundamentally essential, common sense thing that you would do in the situation that they're in. So what is the true crux of the matter? Well, my friends, the crux is the Unfair Competition and Trade Secrets Act of Korea. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, but I can read, and I have a moderately functional human brain. So I'm going to go through this real quick and just talk about which provisions within this act are potentially able to be litigated against Ironmace as a company. For anything to truly affect Dark and Darker, like being delayed or preventing release entirely, Nexon will need to file an injunction against Ironmace as a company and demonstrate that they are suffering measurable harm from the continued development of the game or potential release of it. So which part of this act could they claim Ironmace has violated? That is the question. That is the crux of the matter. The Cliff Notes version here is that there are 9 different acts that can qualify as unfair competition. And looking through these, there's only really one that stands out as potentially being applicable to the situation that Ironmace is in. And it seems like Ironmace simply needs to prove that they did not falsely assume Nexon's product. That's it for this first part. Again, this is just the definition of unfair competition. The next hurdle that they need to jump is trade secrets. Trade secret, according to this act, means information which can include a production method, a sale method, or any useful technical or business information for a business activity that is not known publicly or is the subject of considerable effort to maintain its secrecy and has independent economic value. There's a whole other section on what infringement of trade secrets means, but in my estimation, it all falls apart unless Ironmace is considered to be using trade secrets to develop Dark and Darker right now. And breaking it down, I don't see anything there that would be provable. Are they using a new production method that only Nexon has? No. Sale method? No. Is there useful technical or business information? Yes, there is. However, there is a very important statement there. It says that is not known publicly and is the subject of considerable effort to maintain its secrecy. Ironmace, I think, can argue that there was not that much effort to keep P3 secret. It was demoed. It was not a top secret project. It was promoted at a conference of some sort. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a homer pie in the sky here, but I don't feel like that anything I've read is a slam dunk for Nexon. And that makes me extremely happy. Does that mean that we're in the clear? Absolutely not. Like I said, not a lawyer, but looking through this, I feel a little bit better. And that's all I've got for today, guys. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end. Please consider subscribing if you like Dark and Darker content. That's all we do here. Until next time.